This
a
conference
data
will
center.
now be recorded.
This is how a data center looks like. We'll show you.
Wasif, one second.
Yes,
Wasif, are
yes.
you changing the slide? Because we are supposed to see only one slide. Introduction slide is there.
Okay, that's what you're seeing.
Yeah, yeah.
See now.
Same. Only the first screen.
Yes.
Or else once you stop and start sharing
Yeah,
again.
I'll stop. I'll stop. Yes, I'll stop and share it. Okay, just a second. Is it visible now?
Okay. Yeah, it's visible now. Yeah, cloud network.
Sorry. Okay. So yeah, this is the introduction slide, and here is what I was talking about. What generally people mean by cloud. Cloud computing, which I was talking about earlier, and this is a typical view of a data center, how it looks like. Uh, this is a closer view. See, this is what cabling and power connection, and it has to be cool due to temperature and everything. They have ACs and everything, so it's a very big setup. It's generally difficult for a small or a startup to get this kind of access. So that's why on the demand services, cloud services have helped many startups. It's very easy to get that level of technology for a lesser price, because like they just charge you on how many hours you use it. That's it. Okay, so basically cloud computing with AWS. Amazon Web Services is the world's most comprehensive and broadly adopted cloud platform, offering over 200 fully featured services from data centers globally. Millions of customers, including the fastest growing startups, largest enterprises, and leading government agencies, are using AWS at lower costs, become more agile and innovative faster. Basically, that is what I was telling you. Okay, how it's easy to provision a server or a database. So many companies, instead of spending money on the servers, and you don't know how your organization will grow, or what amount of CPU or storage you require at first. And if you have to increase, then again you need to purchase and add up servers, so it'll take you long. So this is where you can do everything like on demand within 5 minutes. So this is very helpful. So basically, sorry, in AWS you have regions, availability zones, and local zones. So basically, see, Amazon cloud computing resources are hosted in multiple locations worldwide. It's I'll show you the map after this slide, so that you can see where all the regions are there, and availability zones and local zones. So these locations are composed of AWS regions, availability zones, and local zones. AWS region is separated geographically. Each AWS region has multiple isolated locations known as availability zones. So what they have done is they have divided the whole world into different AWS regions. Like you have Asia Pacific region, North America region, South America region. Like this, you have many regions. In that, what they have done is they have separated. They have made different availability zones, what they call AZs. So what availability zone is, they are separated geographically. So that means if one this thing in one Asia Pacific region in India, you have a South India and a North India availability zone. So what will happen if there is it is separated geographically? That means there is it's different. It's on a different location. So that means what happens if there is any natural calamity in one region? Like if there's an earthquake or a typhoon or a storm, something which comes and destroys your data center, then your data is protected in another availability zone. So they are separated geographically. So that is the main reason of the main reason and help of these availability zones. You can split your data across different availability zones, so you have high availability here. Even if one data center goes down, then your other data center will be still providing you the data and access to all the services. So in that availability zones, now recently they have introduced these local zones also, these local zones. So yeah, and I'll show you this. So by using local zones, you can place resources such as compute. Compute is basically the servers, what they say, and the storage and the multiple location closer to the users. If they are like, if the user, if you're targeting to South India, you can, if you can place your resources in South India, then it will be easily accessible, and it will be fast. If if your user is sitting in Australia and you have put your resources in India, then there will be some time delay. So what you can do is, you can place your data and this compute services close to the user. And Amazon RDS enables you to replace resources such as DB instances, and data is in multiple locations. Resources aren't replicated across AWS unless you told separately. That means you have to specify to the AWS that we need high availability and we need to split our data. So once we tell AWS that we want to split our data, then what it does is it distributes our data into different availability zones and regions, so that you will have high availability and low latency. Now we'll move to the next slide. Yeah, see, basically, this shows what exactly is AWS region. See, this whole thing, this thing is an AWS region, and then inside that there is an availability zone, and in each availability zone, internet will be a local zone. For example, like what India we have. So India is a region, huh? And in that you have an availability zone. So for example, you can take Karnataka as an availability zone. So India, inside that there is Karnataka, and inside that there is Bangalore. So you can consider region as India, and then availability zone as Karnataka, and then local zone as Bangalore. So that is what the basically this idea of whole availability zone is. And I will show you here the slide. See, you have see so many regions. You have this UAE, this is North America region, they call it as US West, and this is your South America region. What you have, see here, you have this EMEA region, Asia, Middle East, and Africa region. This is called as EMEA region, and this is your Asia Pacific region. See here, you have in India, you have two. See, Hyderabad, it's coming soon. It says Mumbai launched in C. It shows here it has launched in 2016. It has three availability zones. So this is how it works. You can go and see all the different types of regions available and everything on this website here. You'll have a brighter idea. So we'll come to the slide. Okay, so basically in AWS you have many services which are available. So in we'll start with introduction and overview of cloud computing is done. So in part 2, see, you have computing on AWS. That means basically AWS is what is EC2 is, they call it as elastic compute cloud. That means basically it's the virtual machine what is available in the cloud for you to use as a server. So you have that, and you have create, this is actually I'm showing you this slide is of the full course what will be taken if gone ahead. This is just the introduction, so I'm just showing you what all will be there. You can learn how to create an EC2 instances, then what are metadata of these EC2 instances, and what are EC2 placement groups. Metadata is like what you have IP address associated, or what network is associated, what storage is associated with it. This you can log into the virtual machine and see. And the placement groups are, you can, as I was telling, you can place your resources in different availability zones and regions. So this placement group will help you in that. And there is EBS is elastic block storage. That is root volume. That means what, like in Windows you have C drive. So what in virtual machine, in this EC2 machine, what C drive uses is this EBS hard disk. Basically it's a hard disk, elastic block storage. That is block storage, block level. It's not file storage, it's a block storage. And you have an instance store is a more faster, it's basically something like RAM, this thing, basically how your RAM in your machine works. It's a fast and it's a this thing volatile storage. Like if you switch off your computer, the storage is gone, but it's very fast in nature. So then you have volumes and snapshots, like what volumes you have, C drive, D drive, and what you can take backup. Basically backup you call it as snapshots. And then you can create AMIs. AMIs are Amazon machine image. Like what this virtual EC2 is a virtual machine. So what this EC2 uses is an Amazon machine image. Like if you have a data center of your own and you're running an application on it, and you have an operating system for that, and you have installed all the dependencies, libraries, everything in it, and you want to migrate that to AWS. So what you can do is, just you can create an Amazon machine image of your physical data center, and just bring it and start your EC2 machine using that image. So what will happen, it is exactly backed up and it's restored here, so you don't have to do any setting, or you don't have to tune the server for your application. It's already copied from your physical server. So this is the AMI. And then here you have load balancers, they call it as ELB, elastic load balancers. And you can also provide they can also provide you health checks. They balance the load between the different servers, and also they can provide you the health check. They can detect if a server is down. If it's down, they'll route the traffic to another server. So, and the next is CloudWatch. So CloudWatch is basically your monitoring solution for your cloud. If your server is down, or a server is running slow, database is not providing you data, everything you can monitor from your CloudWatch console. And AWS command line. So basically you can use command line interface and also provision your EC2 machine. You don't have to go to your graphical user interface or the GUI page and provision EC2. And then you have IAM roles. IAM is identity access manager. That means where you provide the roles for your EC2 machine. In detail, I'll tell you what is IAM in the future slides. Basically, it provides you the access. Like if it's EC2 machine, it will provide you the access to database or whatever you can mention. Basically, it's like Active Directory. So the next is the security groups. These are the virtual firewalls for AWS EC2 machine. And then next is cloud storage. So here they call base cloud storage as S3. That is simple storage service. There are three S. So they call it as S3. So this is what S3 we use here. And Glacier is archiving storage. Like if you want to archive any data or take backup and store it for lower cost, then you can store it on Glacier. So basically S3, like what we have drive here, they call it as bucket. Amazon calls it as bucket, so it's called as S3 bucket. And then you can maintain different versions of your data and life cycle management. That means if you like, you can give a data retention for your data, like if for 30 days it is there in your S3 bucket and then it is moved to Glacier, you can manage the life cycle of the data. And then security and encryption, you can encrypt the data. And then you have transfer acceleration, that means that the data goes travels faster because it's been on dedicated Amazon network. So there is storage gateway, that means gateway is used to access your physical servers data into AWS. Import exporting of the data. And then you have snowball is basically there is a device with AWS which you can get into your data center and copy the data directly, and basically it's like a big pen drive what you use to transfer the data. In the same way, they have a snowmobile also. Snowmobile is basically a very big truck what AWS provides for copying data. You can order this if you have such a big organization. So, and then you have elastic file storage. This is for if you have 3 4 servers and you have to share data between them. Then this is the EFS storage. And then disaster recovery backup on AWS. And you have automated backup services to take backup and everything. And you have CloudFront CDN. CloudFront, see, this is also an interesting thing what they provide in AWS. CloudFront CDN is cloud dedicated network. That means if they have a CDN all over the world. That is, if a user is sitting in Australia and you're providing him the data from India, huh? So what you can do is you can provide the data through CDN. CDN is cloud dedicated network. That means AWS has its own network and the data travels to the closest location of the user on CDN, and then it provides the data there. That is, it's called as cloud front. You know, it is just the front door of a cloud, so you get the data exactly at your door. So the data travels faster. But yeah, Amazon charges for that also. And then you have a networking section. In this you have VPC. VPC is virtual private cloud. VPC subnets routing table, how you subnet it and route your data through the VPC, and you can build your own VPC. And then elastic IP is what is public IP what you give to your server. And VPC peering is connection between two server networks. And ENI is elastic network interface. That means you can give to multiple IP address. I think you can give up to 5 IP addresses to one machine. So they were there this ENI uses. And then you have internet gateway and direct connect. You have network security controls. You call it as NACLs. These are basically the firewalls for networks versus security group is for firewall for the machine, and network access control is a firewall for network. Then you have VPC flow logs, you can see VPC cleanup, and then network translation address, NATs versus bastion machine, what you use to enter into your organization. And you have ELBs versus, this is just a comparison. And then in DNS, you have DNS. DNS is a domain naming service that you have in detail here. And then there is a Route 53, that is AWS service, the service that allows you to register your domain. And it also helps you in routing policies. We'll see in our later sites what is this. And then you have database. You have RDS. RDS is relational database. DynamoDB is NoSQL database. And then you have Elastic Cache and Redis. And this is and then you have Amazon Redshift. Redshift is for OLAP analyzing for data warehousing and everything. You use this. And this is Amazon Aurora. This is AWS's own database, which they say is a million times faster than the basic MySQL or other databases available. And then you have this read replicas to increase your speed of your database. You can use this. and then you can have backup and snapshots and this database migration service and schema conversion tool. This basically it's a MySQL thing, and then the seventh part is the security. Here you have SSLs, key manage. What are the keys you can provide? Customer keys or your own keys, and certifications. These certificate managers are for SSL certificates and everything. IAM is identity access management. Here you can provide access to users or machines or anything. You will see in the slides. Then you have cloud HSM, cloud trail. Cloud trail helps to track if someone is using something. It helps you in tracking. And web access firewalls. Firewall trusted advisor is tells you where you have left something open or where you have a vulnerability and everything. It shows it there. Part is part it is scalable deployment. This all you have elastic beanstalk. This is AWS's managed VM. If you don't want to, patch your server or do the handling of the server, then you can provision your application on elastic beanstalk. You have auto scaling. If there is a load, it will scale automatically. Elasticity, scalability, scale up, scale out. These are all terms which you will read in detail in the full course. Read replicas, cloud formation, troubleshooting, monitoring on the cloud, CloudWatch introduction. In detail, you have what is CloudWatch and how to troubleshoot your EC2 status and clear the CloudWatch role. So, what role you give to CloudWatch, it accesses that and it shows you the metrics. Monitoring with EC2, monitoring EBS, RDS levels, these are all our operations management. You have AWS config ops work service manager. Basically, service manager helps you in managing all the services here. And you have billing alerts. You can give alerts for billing. So if you are using above, for example, if you give $10, if you're going about $10 in 1 month, it will provide you an alert and everything. And cost optimization will help you to in reducing the cost. Now the next slide is development in on AWS. This will help you in DevOps on AWS. You have AWS SDKs, code deploy, code commit, code pipeline. You have these and how you can use Jenkins on AWS, and you have the CI/CD integration also. And this AWS Lambda. AWS Lambda is the serviceless application model what Amazon provides you. So basically, it's a serverless compute module. So you can build and deploy Lambda-based applications invoking Lambda functions. And this last is application services. This is a simple queue service. Like if you want a queue, you can use this. And notification is like for sending SMSs and notifications. And then you have Amazon email service, that is to send emails and other notifications. So API gateways. Kinesis is for video encoding tool. Cognito provides you the insights for firewall and everything. So this is basically what all you have provided in AWS. So cloud basically multiple system working together to act like a single system is cloud, right? You have database, you have storage, you have machine, everything on demand, that is cloud. Huh. Now load balanced cloud. What do you mean by load balanced cloud? Multiple group of clouds systems supporting the same function. Like you have two types of different clouds which are providing the same function is called as load balanced cloud. And then you have high availability cloud or multiple region cloud. Hmm. So multiple data centers that have multiple group of cloud systems performing the same functions. Like it's been deployed on different AWS regions or availability zones. That is what is collectively called as a high availability cloud, HA. And then you have cloud compute modules. There are three types of service modules, that is software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. So basically infrastructure as a service is what you will see in the next slide. And four types of deployment modules are private, public, hybrid, and community. So basically, private is your private deployment module, what you have in the cloud. Public is with you deploy with the access to public. And there is hybrid module in which you have a part of your data center connected to a AWS cloud. So that is a hybrid module of cloud. So here, see, software, if you are giving as a service, then it will be called as SaaS, software as a service. If you're giving platform, then it is called as platform as a service. And if it's an infrastructure you're giving, it is infrastructure as a service. We'll see in the next slide what exactly it means. See here. So here is your whole stack, application stack. What you have here, you have networking, storage, server, virtualization, OS, middleware, runtime, data, and application. So what happens in IaaS, infrastructure as a service, the network, storage, server, and virtualization. See, basically EC2 watch virtual machine they're providing. It's a virtualization. So this virtualization is taken care by the AWS. So that is infrastructure as a service. So what you manage is the above layer: OS, middleware, runtime, data, and application. This is what you are handling. AWS handles this networking, storage, service, and virtualization. This is infrastructure as a service. Whereas compared to this PaaS, in PaaS, you handle even more less of function for yourself. See here, from networking to runtime, everything is handled by the vendor. That is the AWS. So you only manage your data and your application. Huh? So IaaS is example of EC2. Huh? And platform as a service is an example of Elastic Beanstalk. It manages everything. Your OS A to Z it manages. What you have to do is you have to put your data and install your application and start using it. And then you have the last is software as a service. In software as a service, here everything A to Z is managed by the cloud only. What you have to do is you just provide your application and start using it. So course outline today, what we'll be seeing in a little bit of detail is identity access manager, AWS storage S3, EC2, Route 53, VPC, and database on AWS, and lastly the cloud formation. Okay, so I think Sumit is fine, or I'm taking too much of time. We are just halfway through.
Yes, so in that case, we'll keep a pause over here till the time Pawan and Channappa, if you have any doubts, you can ask. So it is not compulsory; it should be in English only. You can ask your doubts in Kannada, Hindi,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically in Kannada
as
or
you are comfortable with it. ಚೆನ್ನಪ್ಪ ನೀವು ಕನ್ನಡ ಒಳಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಏನು ತಿಳಿತು ಏನು ತಿಳಿದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೂ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲ ಸೊ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ನಮಗೂ ಇದು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಚೆನ್ನಪ್ಪ ಫೀಲ್ ಫ್ರೀ ಟು ಆಸ್ ದ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಹಲೋ ಹಲೋ ಚೆನ್ನಪ್ಪ ಕೇಳಿ ಹಲೋ
okay. I don't think so.
राइट
There is
पवन
any time.
यस पवन
Okay.
कुछ डाउट है आपको आप हिंदी में पूछ सकते हो क्या समझ में आया आपको क्या
No,
लगा
no, I'm okay here. Yeah, I'm okay here. It's comfortable. And was it
ओके
nice? And well, we covered the good points. Yeah, it's a nice start.
Okay.
Okay, fine. What you can do is like you can go ahead. Um,
Okay.
you
Fine.
know,
I'll continue and
yes,
I'll keep it
please.
in pace. Yeah. Okay. So see, basically, what we are seeing here is identity access management. Basically, identity access management is stands for identity access manager. AWS IAM may be a service that helps you to control access to AWS resources. That means for each in AWS resources, you can give the control and access through this IAM console. You can use IAM to regulate who is allowed and who has the permission to AWS resource. I can create a user, like for example here you have Chanapa. I can create a user of Chanapa. I can if he's on as he's working as a developer, then I can give him the access to what services does an developer needs. I can create a group and I can give him the service, or I can just give him individual permissions. So this is all you can do it from IAM. You can manage and use resource in your AWS account without having to share your password or access key. That means if I am there and for example now Pawan is he's working as a system administrator. So what I can do is I can create a username and password for him, and I can give him the access of I can we can give read access or write access, or execution access, whatever it is, what level of access. Like if he goes to a virtual machine, he can see what is running, but he can't make any changes, or he can't shut it down. Like this we can give a very deep level of permissions here. It enables you to manage access to AWS resources securely. We can attach policies to AWS users, group, and roles. User is an individual user, AWS user. AWS group is a group of users, and roles are, we can assign roles to even the AWS machine. Like for example, EC2 machine is there and it has to go and fetch a data from database. So what we do is we give a database role, we attach it to the EC2 machine. So what it does, it has the access to go and fetch data from the database. But whereas we don't give it to the user. So what will happen if machine goes and fetches, it provides the data. So you can give permissions to the resources also. So okay, so we have IAM user and root user. Root user, when you first create an AWS account, you begin with an email. That is how you create your AWS account, with the email and a password, with the complete access to all resources and services. This is the AWS account root user. So basically root user is the one who's creating that AWS account. He will have access from end to end for that AWS account. He is basically a root user for that. He can do whatever he wants. He can create new users, assign roles, everything. He There is no stopping him as the root user, basically like an admin. So IAM user, a user that you create in AWS, is called as an IAM user. It represents the person or services who interact with AWS. IAM user primary purpose is to give people the ability to sign into the AWS individual without sharing the password with others. That is what, as I told you, we can create user and give it to the person instead of sharing your root access. You can access permission will be depending on the policies which are assigned to the IAM user. So what policies you assign? You assign storage role, store, you give him the storage access or database access. That user will have that level of access. And you have IAM groups, group of collection of IAM users. You can access specific permission to a group and add user to that group. You can create a group and you can add users. Like you have a developer group, you have a system administrator group, you have database group. You can give like that. For example, you can have a group called as DB admins and give that type of permission to the database administrator typically needed. And IAM role is like a user with policies attached to it, and that decides what identity can or can do it. It will not have any password or credential attached to it. A role can be assigned to the federated user who signed in for an external. So you can create a user and can give him assign. That means, these users, IAM users, will have like if you can access the EC2 machine, if you can access the database, that. And roles means it will go even more deeper. Like if he has access to a storage, then he can view the files or he can delete the files. That level of access we can give. If there are 10 buckets, we can give access to only one bucket to him, like this. So these are the roles. And IAM policies, it decides what level of access AWS resource will possess. That means if you're giving EC2 machine access of the storage or database, this is where the IAM policy comes. Policy is an object associated with the identity and define the level of access to the certain resource. Policies are evaluated when IAM principal, that is user or role, makes a request. Policies are JSON based documents. Basically, these are written in JSON. You can create your own and provide access to the users. Now, next, coming to most widely used storage in AWS is S3. That is a simple storage service. So what basically Amazon S3 is, it is the basic object storage. You have two types of storage in general. One is file storage and another is object storage. So S3 is an object storage that allows us to store any kind of data in the bucket. Basically, what folder or what partition you call here in AWS is called as bucket. So it provides availability in multiple AZs, durability, security, and performance at the very. However you want, it provides you the access in multiple AZs, durability. It gives Amazon tells you it is 99.999. No, this is nine nines. Amazon says that's the level of durability they provide for the data. That means if you have data, then there is a 99.99999 that much chances of getting your data back. So it's like almost 100% chances. And it's low cost, and any type of customer can use it to store and protect the amount of data for use cases like static or dynamic website. Even you can directly put your dynamic or a static website code on S3, and you can directly access through your web page. You don't need a server also. So that's also a very good thing S3 provides in for AWS. It can be used for analytics and backup also. So the next is storage and pricing. You have different types of storage models available here. One, two, three, four, five, six. There are total six type of S3 models. This is S3 standard. What we use, like we can just go and put create a new bucket with our name and just store any data you want there. And there is another, see, this is the highest cost of storage. This is S3 standard, and coming down you will reduce the cost. So you have S3 standard infrequent access. That means you can provide that, you can transfer the data there, and it'll reduce the cost of your storage. And then you have the intelligent tiering. That means you no need to mention the lifecycle policy. In infrequent access, you have to provide the life cycle. That means like for 30 days it's the data should be in this S3 standard, and then it will be moved to infrequent access, because after 30 days most probably you don't use the data so often, so it will be moved to infrequent access. S3 intelligent tiering, if in this, if you store the data, it will automatically move. You don't have to provide the lifecycle policy also. Then there is S3 one zone infrequent access. That means the data is stored in a single zone. And then you have a glacier. Glacier is basically for archiving. So what will happen in Glacier, if you store the data, I think, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it will take 3 to 4 hours to retrieve the data. Like you for S3 standard is just like a folder. You put the data, and when you double click it, it will open. But if Glacier is for archiving, so it will take 3 to 4 times to archive and give you back the data. And deep dive archive is even more further, and I think it will take around 8 hours or something. And it has very low cost of S3. So basically, these are the different storage models available in cloud. Now here we come to the Elastic Compute Cloud. This is basically the VM what AWS provides. So EC2 is the basically the virtual machine in this cloud environment. It provides scalability, as if there is too much of load, you can scale up the EC2 instance, and if the load has reduced, you can scale down the instance. And you don't have to like basically you don't have to invest in hardware, because it's an on-demand service, so there's no hardware cost available here. And you can launch as many servers as you want, and you will have a complete control over the servers, and can manage security, networking, and storage. Basically, it's the virtual machine what you get here, and you can put them in what VPC you want and what storage you want, what type of storage, what operating system. You can mention everything and get as of your needs. And this instance type, there is the instance type is providing a range of instance type for various use cases, and the instance is a processor and memory of your EC2 instance. That means you can basically the you have how many processors you want, one, two, three, four, depending on your load. You can opt for so many processors, and the memory is RAM. Here they're talking about the RAM, what size of RAM you want and what how many processors you want. You can go ahead and provision that many. So the volume what you attach to this EBS, the hard disk what you attach to this virtual machine, it is called as elastic block storage. Basically, you can't attach your S3 and you can't install your operating system on S3. So what virtual machine you can use the hard disk is elastic block storage. It is a block level storage that is assigned to your in EC2 instance. That means the C drive where the operating system is installed, it should be an EBS, elastic block storage. It can't be a S3 or an EFS or something. It persists independently from running EC2. So type of EBS storages. These are the type of EBS storages available in AWS. This is general purpose SSD. You have provisioned IOPS. That means inputs and outputs. This is a bit faster in compared to the general purpose SSD. You have throughput optimized hard disk, right? That this is HDD, basically hard disk. This is SSD, solid state disk. So this is faster when compared to this hard disk drive. Hard disk drive was the old magnetic drives, which they are slow in providing you the data. So these are throughput optimized, and then cold hard disk drive, and then these are old magnetic drive. These are all type of EBS storages EC2 provides you. And then there is AMI. AMI is, as I was telling in the introduction slide, it is Amazon Machine Image. AMI decides the OS, install dependencies, libraries, data of your EC2 instance. Multiple instances, the same configuration can be launched using a AMI. Basically, what you can do is, if you are if you have created a EC2 machine of your own and you have put your libraries and data, everything, you have dependencies you have installed and everything, then you can create an Amazon machine image of that. And then depending on your needs, you can create the number of servers, like if whether if you want to create for high availability, or just for your application needs, you need servers, so you can provision with the same image, n number of machines you can provision. So next is security group. Security group are basically the firewall for your EC2 instance. They tell you what can be allowed or what can be denied. For example, you can allow access to port 22. Port 22 is for SSH, and port 80 for HTTP, and port 443 for HTTPS. So basically, like, depending on what traffic has to go in and out of the virtual machine or EC2 instance, you can access that. You can provide that access through the security groups in EC2 tab. It decides the type of port and kind of traffic to allow. It are the active and instant level, whereas and NACLs, network ACLs are for VPCs, and security group are for EC2 machine. That's what it says here. And then you have security groups can only allow but can't deny. Basically, everything is denied here. In security groups, everything is denied. So whatever has to allow, you can mention that and you can open those ports. Security group is considered stateful. By default, the outbound rule of traffic is allowed and needs to define the inbound rules. So basically, whatever the traffic is going out of the virtual machine, it is open, allowed. So whatever the traffic has to come inside, you have to open those ports. Key pairs are the private key and the public key, what you use to log into the EC2 machine instead of your username and password. So there are two keys. Basically, one is a public key and a private key. So what happens here is when you generate a key pair, you will have a public key in the EC2 machine, and you will have a private key which you can download and store it on your machine, and you can SSH using those private key. And once that private key and public key are matched, you will get the access to your virtual machine. So that's where it says keep the private key in a secure place. So whoever has access to your private key, they can access that server. So this was all about EC2. Now moving forward, we'll move towards the Amazon Route 53. Basically, Amazon Route 53 is the DNS domain naming system. You can register domain, you can attach those domains to your virtual machine IP address, everything you can do it from Route 53. These are the collection of rules and records intended to help client user understand how to reach any server in the domain name. If you have provided a domain name, it will help you to show you the route and how it goes and reaches to that. Like if you provide a facebook.com, it will go and connect to an IP address. So where is that IP address? That will be told by this DNS service. Huh. And it will also show you the routing path from where to and from where to reach that particular IP address. Everything will be showed in Amazon through Route 53. So Route 53 hosted zone is a collection of records for specified domain that can be managed together. There are two types of zones. Basically, there are two types of zone. One is a public zone and a private zone. Public zone determines how the traffic is routed to the internet, and private it determines how the traffic is routed within the VPC. Basically, the VPC is a virtual private cloud in which your EC2 machine sits. So whatever the traffic going out is shown by the public hosted zone, and whatever the traffic is inside the VPC, it is showed you by the private hosted zone. So you have different routing policies here. Basically, routing policies is like if you have five virtual machines, for example, I'll tell you you have five EC2 machines, and then the data is if a user is sitting and accessing data, then simple means it is used there in the need to redirect the traffic to every single resource. Like at a time, as one request comes, it will send to first servers, and when the second request comes, it will test second to second servers, like this. It goes on in a simple rule. It does not support any health checks. It won't check if any of those five servers, if any of one is down. So basically it's a simple routing policy. Weighted, it's similar to simple, but you can specify the weight. That means what you can do is, if your 100% traffic, you can, if you have servers A and server B, EC2 A machine and EC2 B machine. So what you can do, if you have an EC2 machine which is for example, I'll tell you, if it's a production level, so you keep it as name A, and you will route your 80% of the traffic to that. And the new server what B you have bought in, you don't know if it's working fine or not. So what you will do is you just send a 20% of the traffic there, so that your most of the users are accessing your production server. And in the same way, some users part of it will come and verify if your new server is working fine or not. So that is how you can route your this thing. You can route on weighted, and failover is basically to check if any, it supports health check. See, it check if server is down, though it will stop sending traffic to that, and it will send the traffic to the remaining servers. Geolocation. It routes the traffic to the closest geographical location you are in. For example, if I'm in India and the user is sitting in North America, so it will route the traffic to the nearest geographical location. So whatever the nearest you have stored your data, it will route the traffic to the nearest location. Geo proximity. It routes the traffic based on the location of the resources to the closest to the region with the geographical area. Here what it does is, if you are in North America region, it will route to North America only. In geolocation, what you do is, you can traffic, you can send, like for example, there is North American user accessing, then you can send it to India or Australia, whatever is you can specify. Whereas in geo proximity, it will check which is the nearest and it will route. And latency based is whichever the is the fastest, network closest to the user, it will send there. And multi-value answer is it distributes DNS responses across multiple IP addresses. If a web server becomes unavailable after resolving cache response, a user can try other IP addresses from the response to reduce the time. This is a multi-level this thing. And so here is we come to the VPC. VPC is the network what you get in AWS. It is known as virtual private cloud, and it's a service that allows users to create a virtually dedicated network for resources. In the next slide, you will see an example of network. So here basically security group are inbound role. Here it has shown the security what you can provide for your EC2 machine. So basically security group is for EC2 machines, and you have network ACLs that will be used for those network access control list. So here inbound rules are all inbound rule traffic, and outbound allows all outbound traffic. So basically here you do is you deny rule in network access control, whereas in security group it's an allow rule. So whatever you have to allow, you allow it because by default everything is off in the security group, whereas in NACLs everything is deny, so you have to allow whatever is required. Okay, so this is a custom what you do is it tells denies all the inbound. You can provide however you want, you can give access there. So here see for example this is in AWS. So in the AWS you have a VPC, that is once you create your AWS account, there will be a default VPC that is created for you. So in this default VPC you have two subnets created inside that. This is some default subnet 1 and subnet 2. This is distributed in two availability zones. So we have availability zone 1 and zone B. That means if these two are different zones, so it is protected in high availability, and this is connected through one router, and it goes out through AWS through an internet gateway into the cloud, and you can access from anywhere in the world. So that's what it says. IGWID is Internet Gateway ID. This is the ID. So anyone can access that. This is the local IP address for that. So now we move on to the database. So I'm starting here with Amazon Aurora, because this is the database which AWS provides. This is the AWS native database. So this is fully managed RDS service by AWS, and it's compatible with Postgres, SQL, and everything. As per AWS, Aurora provides 5 times throughput to traditional MySQL and 3 times throughput to Postgres SQL. That means Aurora is faster than MySQL for 5 times, and it's 3 times faster than the Postgres SQL. That's what the Amazon says. So we have features here, like it's only supported by regions which have three. That means it's been the data what you store in Amazon Aurora, that's been distributed in 3 availability zones. That is the reason you can put Amazon Aurora only in the regions where you have 3 different availability zones. So you have high availability of 99.9%, and Aurora keeps 2 copies in each availability zone. So minimum 3 availability zones. Make 6 copies of your data. So that means your data is never lost. Then it can have up to 15 read replicas. Read replicas are that means they, like, see when you are accessing data, you read your database many times and write into your database for no less time. So that means what it does is it provides you the read replicas. That means data is written to one database and then it is replicated to other database. So other databases handle only the reading part. So in that way, the data is accessed in a faster way. So it can be scaled up to 128 TB, and you have primary DB instance and Aurora replica. Primary DB is what supports read and write operations, and it is the primary database. in your DB cluster, and replica it supports only the read operation. When automatically, see, there's one more feature here. Aurora automatically fails over if the replica in less time in case of primary. If the primary goes down, then what Amazon does is it elevates the Aurora replica to being the primary, so that the data will be flowing. So see, here you have an example. See, in zone A you have two copies of your database. Zone B also you have two copies. Zone 3 also you have two copies. So one is in zone A, what you have is primary database. Just a second. Yeah. In zone A, what you have is a primary database. It can read and write both. And then what it does is it writes to the read replicas also. That in turn will replicate the data. So what will happen? Zone B and zone C, what you have, they're just the read replicas. That means only the application can read from that. Writing operation or everything is taken care by the primary instance. So that is how this Aurora provides you a faster speed. So this is basically the SQL database. Now we'll move ahead to the Amazon DynamoDB. So here, DynamoDB is the NoSQL database which Amazon provides. It's just a key value database. It delivers a single digit millisecond latency. That is how fast this database is, and it can handle 20 million requests per second. This is the amount of requests it can handle, and it's a serverless service. It means there is no server. You can just you can access and you can go to Amazon DynamoDB and just create your database and start using. You don't have to manage the server underlying it. It is everything is taken care by AWS, and all cluster snapshot are user initiated and stored in S3 till explicitly deleted. So what it does is it takes the backup of these database through snapshots and stores in S3. And there is document DB. Document DB is fully managed document database service for AWS, which supports MongoDB. For MongoDB, you can use document DB. It's highly recommended for storing queries and index JSON data. So this is the DynamoDB and DocumentDB. Now, last we'll move ahead. So we have covered networking, compute, storage, and now this was the DB. Now going ahead, we'll move to the last this thing to the AWS Cloud Formation. This is infrastructure as a code, IaaC. So here what you can do is, if when you have to create a database or a virtual machine, for example, we'll take it a EC2 machine. So if you want to provision EC2 machine, you can write it in a script. That is what is cloud formation. You can write in a JSON or a YAML document where you write what type of EC2 machine you want, the storage, the CPU, the OS, and everything. You can write it in a script and go to the cloud formation and execute it. So what will happen? You don't have to go to EC2, AWS console and provision. You can do it through the cloud formation. The help of this is, once you write a code and keep it. So if you have to replicate and create 10 or 100 machines with the same configuration, with the same installation libraries and everything, you can just rerun this code back. So you'll have the same exact copies of the machines. So AWS Cloud Formation is a service that collects AWS and third-party resources and manages throughout their lifecycle by launching them together as a stack. A template is used to create, update, and delete the entire stack. You can that is what in the code you can mention the database, the network where it should be provisioned, and the storage what it uses and everything, and you can start everything together. It provides the capability to you reuse the template to the set of resources easily and repeatedly. That means you can repeat and reuse the code as many times as you want. It can be integrated with AWS IAM for security. That means you can provide security and everything to the AWS, and it can be integrated with Cloud Trial to capture the API calls to the events. So if you integrate it with the Cloud Trial, then it will capture the API calls. That means it will see where you are going and provisioning what at what time and everything. The cloud trail will keep a track of it. So these templates are in JSON and YAML format. So this can be used for building AWS resources. So yeah, this was the AWS cloud formation. So here, they are some of the resources which you can go ahead and read for documentation. You have AWS documentation, you have their white papers, and also they have video tutorials where they show you how to create an easy to instance or database, whatever you want. You have, you can clear it out from there, and then you have on GitHub they have a repository in where they help you with this thing cloud formation infrastructure as a code scripts you can find there, and you can download and tune it and make changes according to your wish and will. And then you have a certification portal where you can see what all the certifications they provide, and what all you can do. And they have their official YouTube channel also. And this is where their webinar happens. So now see, this is typical how AWS cloud practitioner certification, global certification looks like. So this is when you complete the AWS certified cloud practitioner exam, you get this kind of certificate. You have your expiration date and when it was issued, and you have a validation number that with that number they can check if it's valid or not. Yeah. So you have many certifications here. You have solution architect, developer, and cloud practitioner. Depending on your needs, you can choose one and start your cloud journey. So I think that was it on my side, and thank you. I took some more time of yours, and if you still have time and if you want, I can show you the console only if required. Yeah. So that's it from my side. Thank you, guys.
Yes,
Other
right, Vasif. Yeah, thank you so much. It was a wonderful session wherein, like, we understood in pretty depth, as it was an introduction session, but the way you explained in detail was like much more helpful. Okay, and thanks for taking from the journey from the basic to the the certification level. Hope all the participants have understood, and part of doubts, I'll gather all the doubts, whatever the queries would be, and I'll consolidate and I'll be sharing with you so that we can give the proper feedback for their queries and doubts. Wasif, thank you once again. Yep, thanks
Sure, sure,
everyone.
sure. Thank you so
Yep,
much.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.